So we're going to put that in. We don't, some of them, we don't need all of them. What? Girl, you need to get some glasses. Does that work? Y'all can move up. There's 2 spots up there if it's easier to see. Okay, so what do we put before? Remember, we want to embed. So what's hard with this one is I'm going to go back to the first paragraph, right? So that's this sentence right here, right? So when we embed, we use the sentences before to create context. This is hard because it's only the first sentence that we have to do. So we're going to say, Bush opens his address. This one's kind of easy because there's not much to say. I would say by just recognizing the morning's events. So I put my words up top, his words down below. Now remember, what we can't do is we cannot just go into this sentence, right? Because then if we put a period, then it's just what we call a quote drop, where you're just reading, there's a period, then all of a sudden there's a quote, right? So we've got to blend it where it's grammatically correct, right? So what can we put? Bush opens his address by recognizing the morning's events. How can we move into the victims were? What is the important part of this, of this quote? What's the most important part, do you think? All the people? Okay, so like this part right here? Okay, so if that's the most important part, can we paraphrase that, the part in parentheses, to add up here? By what? Bush opens his address by recognizing the morning events.
By addressing the victims as regular people.
Well, we want to lead into this. So the events by what? By addressing, well, I don't like address because it's up there. Wait, what'd you say?
I said by morning events, by addressing the victims as regular people.
Oh, recognizing, I like that. By recognizing that the victims were, Wyatt, we're going to save yours because yours is an analysis, kind of. By recognizing that the victims were, and then we'll do comma, and then we do the quote start. So we can take that out. And we'll start right there. Is this you like getting back at me now? Yeah, grab your computer, Lennon. Right? He needs his computer. Okay. This is payback for all the times that I email you. All right, so now look at this. Does it sound like correct, right? Bush opens his address by recognizing the morning's events, recognizing that the victims were, I don't like this. How about we say by acknowledging? That way we don't have the same 2 words. By acknowledging the morning's events and recognizing that the victims were secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. So the more you do this, the easier that kind of like embedding gets. Notice in here, I don't have Bush says, Bush states, and then I get into it, right? I embed it with a little bit of context before. All right, what was that piece of evidence? Now let's get into the analysis, right? So what was that piece of evidence? We described it as an appeal to emotion, right? Which one do we like more? We have a couple in here. So do we like emotion? Do we like the moral authority? Well, that was these evil, despicable acts. Let's go emotion. So let's go, we're going to look at pathos. And then sympathy is on there, right? On your list of pathos?
Yeah.
So this would be negative. Is it negative or complex? Complex, okay. Complex. And then, did we say sympathy or empathy? I think we said empathy. We had both on there, remember? But sympathy is you're sorry for somebody, for someone else without going through that experience. And then empathy is like you actually shared that experience with them. So this is where we're going to focus. Now, look at the sheets. Hopefully this will work. I haven't tried this yet, but. So we have ethos. There's your pathos one. So let's look and see which one we think is easier. Talk with your partner. Which sentence do we think works better to go into our analysis for those victims? Talk to your partner. Which one do we think would work best? All right, this is a loose one. Like, you can adapt this if you want, like, but I wanted to give you something that had a, at least had a, did you get it? Okay. I wanted to give you something that at least can give you a start, but if you feel pretty confident without it, you can try it, but then it might slow you down, right? All right, so which one do we like better? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Who votes 1? Oh, okay. Who votes 2? We have 1, 2, okay, 3, 4. Okay, let's try 2 right now, and then we'll move forward. So we can use it word for word. This appeal. And remember how we said we were only really going to focus on like the 2, right? We're really going to focus on not pathos or ethos logos. We're going to focus on the subcategory. So this appeal to the complex emotion of empathy. So now you're telling me what you're analyzing. Allows, and let's take out speaker. Let's put President Bush. We want to refer to as specifically as we can. Allows President Bush to connect. So with an audience, let's go back to our thing here and let's be specific. So I'm going to add into my notes that I want to look at the subcategory and the specific in there. And then for speaker, I want to use their name. And then anytime we talk about audience, we want to go back to our rhetorical situation and we want to choose a specific one. So, looking at this one, this specific piece of evidence, what audience would need to know this? Would the victims' families need to know who were victims? No, because they're already experiencing it, right? So what's another one that we would say would be relevant? grieving Americans, that would work.
Scared Americans.
Scared, yeah, any one of those I would think work. The U.S. allies could also work if we wanted to do it. So let's do grieving or not right now. To connect to the grieving Americans. And I like that because this also connects to the empathy, right? So that's a good audience to choose. To the grieving Americans who, so now let's talk about empathy. So the grieving Americans who also experienced those events, right? So we're kind of using the definition a little bit for that. Do you understand what I mean by which moves them to? Because anytime we talk about an audience and we talk about an author's purpose, it's their way of like getting the audience to understand something. So they're already grieving. So what does it get them to understand now? That grieving audience, what does that list allow Bush to do? Moves them to what? Can't say stay strong, do what? Okay, which moves them to understand. Maybe that wasn't anybody, but it was like everybody. What did you say about the group that it was like naming them, like it was making it more what?
It made them seem like you could understand, like you relate to them.
Okay, so which moves,
We all have moms, dads, families.
yeah, which moves them to understand that this tragedy affected, yeah. And I'm going to kind of add what Wyatt said, affected all Americans because, and we can say we in here because we all can relate on some level to the people in that list. Is there anything else that we wrote down in our notes about that section? We wrote down that everyone's connected, right? So that's what we said kind of there. All right. This is not summary. That is what we would say is analysis of the appeal and why it has value. And notice kind of what we did is we used the definition to help get us to find the right audience. All right, so you want to read, this would be like a, you know how you have like short answers? This would be a short answer kind of for y'all. When we write the test, we're only going to write one chunk per body paragraph. So I'll do that for you, but read like how this reads. In the first half, President Bush illustrates America's resilience. Bush opens his address by acknowledging the morning's events and recognizing that the victims were secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. This appeal to the complex emotion of empathy allows President Bush to connect to the grieving Americans who also experienced those events. I'm going to put a period here. This moves them to understand that this tragedy affected all Americans because we all can relate on some level to the people in that list. Done. If we're scoring this, I'm going to score these on a, I need to get you the rubric tomorrow. I score these on a 0 to 4 level. This is like a 3+, moving towards a 4. Okay? All right, so let's look at our second piece of evidence. Flip over to the back. Let's do this. We're going to stick the same claim, so we're still in paragraph 1. But we're going to do chunk number 2 on this one. So we're still on this side, right? This is a long quote, wasn't it? All right, so now let's divide this in half again. What paragraph was that in? Was that in 2 or 3? 3, right? All right. So when we're looking at this one, we liked the description of the things, right? Okay, so let's do, we're going to look at our military is powerful. I think I'm going to do and it's prepared. I like the emergency teams part too, so we can go into there. Emergency teams are working. Oops, sorry. And then what else did we like in there? We liked so do y'all know what this is called? The ... Ellipses. So you can use ellipses, but you have to, on either side of ellipses, you have to have, like, it still has to make grammatical, like it's grammatically correct on either side. So our military is powerful and is prepared. Our emergency teams are working. Federal agencies ... are reopening. As long as you keep the intended meaning and it's grammatically correct, you're fine, right? Our federal agencies are reopening. I'm going to do one more. Our financial institutions remain strong. I just kind of wanted to show you if you have a longer piece in there that you like, but what we like about this is we like our military is powerful. It shows all the things that we are, right? Federal agencies are reopening, so it's kind of like the part of the government plus like the verb, like the action that they're taking, right? All right, so now we have to embed it. What's difficult about this is we're right here, right? We moved from our first paragraph to our second paragraph. So the second paragraph is talking about like the foundations of the buildings, right? All those things. We responded with the daring of our rescue workers, all those things. Now we get to here. So what are we going to intro this with? Immediately following, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. So can we paraphrase that easily? We can say Bush continues by explaining, and this is where we see the I in there, right? By explaining the steps he took. What do those steps show? Like he's taking what? I mean, like there's chaos and everything that day, and then he's going through all these pieces of government. So what is he trying to show to him with that, with those like government pieces that are now working? Okay, so by explaining the steps he took to regain regain order. Oh, organization works, but the organization leads to the order, right? He took to regain order. What's another verb? I like explaining because that's up there. We used illustrating before. And we can just say, and how our military is powerful and prepared, our emergency teams are working, federal agencies are reopening. Well, we're just kind of trying to go into this next one. So I think that is enough. Notice that's kind of small. Do you know what you do? Do you know what those brackets mean? I use those all week. You know what those brackets, if you have a quote and you have a square bracket inside.
Like switches like the tense.
Yeah, it can switch the tense. It could put a word in there. If there's like a pronoun of like he or she and it's not mentioned before, you can replace it with the name, right? So all I had to do was just put an and in there. There's no and in there. So federal agencies are reopening and our financial institutions remain strong. All right, so Bush continues by explaining the steps he took to regain order and how our military is powerful and is prepared, our emergency teams are working, federal agencies are reopening, and our financial institutions remain strong. So it's as easy as that to embed. Do it? Yeah, I think I like all of that in there because I think it's fine. Even though it's a little long, I think we need all those things to show like the order. So if we go into which one do we think? We did logos, we did ethos. Talk with your partner, which one do you want to use more? I want to stay away from pathos because we've already used it, so I want to try a different one. So look and see if ethos works better or logos works better. And then see which bullet you want to use. So logos is on the back of pathos. What did you say?
We said, how was your break?
Those are my worst days in college because I never went to class on rainy days. That's why it's hard for me to be an adult now. How was y'all's turn?
You got first and like the silver thing. So
Okay.
We went 4-1. So it was good, like overall.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I am going this Thursday, Friday too. We're
Okay.
in San Antonio.
Okay. Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just get caught up. I think that's when we're going to start working, but I don't have an issue. You'll get caught up. Fine. All right.
Sounds good.
Which one do we like more? Are we going to go with the ethos or the logos?
Ethos.
Okay, so you think ethos. Okay, so let's do ethos. What's our subcategory? Credibility, right? And then our exact one is authority, right? Okay, I agree with that. So these are going to be the two that we focus on, like the credibility. All right, and I like that we're choosing different ones so that we just don't do all emotional. All right, which bullet point did we like the best? The first one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I like 3 because it's talking about it reassuring the audience, and if we're talking, that kind of fits the idea of like showing us that we have strength, right? And how these things show that we are strong. So I'm going to do 3. If you want to try another one, do you want to try another one on your own? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to do 3. So again, I'm going to say Bush, and remember, we don't ever call him George. You can call him President Bush or Bush, not George or Georgie. I've seen it all. All right, so Bush. Wait, I said 3, right? Yes. I'm going to say Bush emphasizes his credibility. So there's my subcategory. And then how can I add authority in there? So credibility, authority. Can I say credibility as an authority? Credibility as an authority figure. So now we have, that is the subcategory, and this is the specific. To reassure. So some of these, like, notice that I'm kind of having to make the frames work, because they won't all work just word for word. I'm kind of making them fit. To reassure what audience now? We don't want to just say the audience, but what audience needs reassurance? Yeah, I'd go to scared Americans. Yeah. So to reassured scared Americans. So notice that that is a specific audience. How, like, what is he reassuring them of?
They will still maintain order.
Okay. To reassure scared Americans that as president, because remember, we're taking this from the viewpoint of Ethos, which is his own credibility, right? That as president, you what? Yes, he can assure us that we will not continue in the chaos. I like it. I think what I'm going to end up doing is I end up splitting the sentence stems into two sentences. So the next part of that is which is crucial. So I'll just say like this is crucial because, and with the second one I'm going to go back to remember to think about like we're trying to show that we are resilient. So the definition of resilience is being able to like go through something hard and come out stronger, not necessarily stronger, but sometimes, but the ability to like be what you were before, at least, right? So why is this crucial that they understand this? How is this helping us get to understanding that we are still strong? How does this show resilience? So our question that we're asking is, how does our evidence prove resilience? That's the question that we're asking for this last one. So this is crucial because why? How does that show our resilience?
Because we can stand up even though we were knocked down.
Okay, because yep, we are able to overcome one of the biggest obstacles, I mean, it would be decades, right? 2000, like the last thing that was this deadly was either the Oklahoma bombing, Oklahoma City bombing, and then Pearl Harbor, right? I wouldn't say American history because we're going back to that. I would say we could just say decades, like, because that would cover a couple of things, right? Yeah, that was just like I mean, it wasn't just, but it was like in the garage. So it was like affected a smaller group of people.
It was the same.
It's the same building.
Same person was behind it. Or one of the people.
Well, I mean, the groups, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all, so this is a whole paragraph. So I'll type this out for y'all so y'all can have an example. So in the first half, President Bush illustrates America's resilience. Bush opens his address by acknowledging the morning's events and recognizing that the victims were secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. This appeal to the complex emotion of empathy allows President Bush to connect to the grieving Americans who also experienced those events. This moves them to understand that this tragedy affected all Americans because we all can relate on some level to the people in the list. That's going back to the difficulty, right? And then we move forward to Bush continues by explaining the steps he took to regain order and how our military is powerful and prepared, our emergency teams, blah, blah, blah. Bush emphasizes his credibility as an authority figure to reassure scared Americans that as president, he can assure us that we will not continue in the chaos. This is crucial because we are able to overcome one of the biggest obstacles we have faced in decades. That's a good body paragraph. There's no summary in there. There's analysis of the appeals. So tomorrow, y'all are going to work on this with Eisenhower. And then on Wednesday, we're going to start our paper. Good? Okay, keep this as an example because you can use this later. Good job, y'all. Y'all, that's some hard stuff right there.